All right, so it may it may be a fake statement. It doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. The statement may be fake, but I'll tell you this: the sentiment is real. The sentiment is real, and I'll tell you all about that here. Who knew that a squirrel would become such a political issue? Who knew that the death of a squirrel and a raccoon? People always forget the raccoon because he wasn't as famous, but it's equally as important. You can't take a man's rodent. You can't take any man's rodent. If a man has a rodent in this country, dadgummit, I say let him have it. And if the government tries to take it away, you tell them you have to pry this rodent out of my cold, dead hands. What's up? This is Mark Kaye Saves the Republic special Saturday edition, although it's not even that special anymore because we've got an election coming up. And you know that if there's an election coming up, and if it's an election as important as this one, you know that we're going to be all hands on deck until we win it. We're going to be out there and we're going to be making sure that you remember what's at stake. You remember when to vote. You remember how to help to tell other people, hey, you got to come vote. You got to get those low propensity ballots. All those voters that maybe are registered Republican, but they're not really sure if they're going to vote, or they're not really excited about it. You got to drag them. If you're going to go vote on Tuesday, make sure you bring somebody with you, especially if that's somebody that may not vote unless they have a buddy or a friend. You know, some people, they don't want to do anything alone. You know those people. They're just like, I don't want to go alone. I know I need to go vote, but I hate to go alone. Will you go with me? There's some people that they have to be with folks. I'm not one of those people. I enjoy the alone time. But there's a lot of people out there that are like, please, won't you come with me, please? I don't want to go by myself. If you don't go with me, I'm just not going to go. If that's the case, if they play that card, I'm sorry, it's too important. It's too important. You have to go and vote. And if somebody calls you up and says, please vote with me because I'm not going to. So don't call me because I know it's going to happen. Someone's going to be like, oh, I'll call Mark Kaye and say, come vote with me because you told me that it was important. Great. I'm still not going to do that. But if I know anyone personally who's a low propensity voter, I will make sure that they get out and they cast their ballot on Tuesday and they're voting for the future. They're voting for America. They're voting for Donald J. Trump for president. And he's going to be, he's in Virginia. Now, this is really exciting because he's in Virginia. The rally has not yet started. Wait a minute. Let me get back to the right page. We're going to be watching. Yeah, here we go. We're waiting right now. We're currently waiting for Donald Trump at his rally in Virginia. Why is that so big? That's so interesting. That's interesting. It's usually not that. Yeah, here we go. Let's go here to Salem, Virginia. This is where Donald Trump will be rallying here momentarily. And as soon as he takes the stage, or as soon as they turn on the feed, because look, he was in North Carolina. He was in Rockingham, North Carolina. He's in Virginia. He's going nonstop, man. He is every single where. If Donald Trump thinks that he can get votes somewhere like North Carolina, if he thinks he can flip a state like Virginia, if he thinks another trip to Pennsylvania will be great, no problem. If he thinks he's got to go back to Wisconsin, go back to Wisconsin. Although after what happened yesterday in Wisconsin, I'll tell you what, man, the fake news media, gosh, they're so fake. They're so fake. They're so phony. They're so bad. They're so full of baloney. It's really almost disgusting now how these people think and what they try to come up with and what they do come up with and what they actually publish. It's one thing, to say Donald Trump wants to execute Liz Cheney by firing squad. It's one thing to say that when you know it's not true, but it's another to print it. And then what the Drudge Report printed today after this Milwaukee rally, I did a whole video on it already, but I'll touch on that again because it's still just to me so ridiculous. I still can't actually believe. I mean, I can believe it because the media's, they're just the worst, but it's still just horrendous. If you ask me, hold on, let me just double check something, make sure that we are firing on all. I want to make sure that we're firing on all cylinders and we are live everywhere. All right, checks out. We're live everywhere. Now, first things first, before we get down to business, let's get down to business. Please subscribe to this channel. If you're watching on Rumble or YouTube or Facebook or Getter or wherever you happen to be on X, make sure that you have hit the subscribe button and also the notification button because like I said, we've got so much to get to in so little time between now and Election Day. In fact, Election Day is like 2 days away. So it's crunch time, folks. Make sure that you're getting all the information, the real news, the real polling, the real truth, not the propaganda, not all that junk that you get on the Drudge Report or anywhere else. You want to make sure that you're listening to Mark Kaye Saves the Republic on your favorite platform. If you're listening to the podcast, fantastic. We appreciate you being here. And we want to make sure that you get the podcast delivered to your phone or your listening device every single day. Because every single day we've got new stuff. Oh, for example, I'll be honest with you, I got so excited when I saw what Tim Walls posted yesterday. Said no one ever. I got so excited about this post. My son sent it to me. I have to show this to you quickly. Tim Walls posted his Wordle online yesterday. He posted his Wordle. It says, yesterday's Wordle in 2. That's got to be a sign, people. Now, the reason he said it's got to be a sign, people, is because he got it in 2, right? That's fun. He wants to pat himself on the back. But the first word he wrote in the Wordle, and if you're not familiar with Wordle, it's a word puzzle. You do 5 letters at a time. You try to find the 5-letter word. It's like a mastermind, but with words. And his first word, his opening word, the word that, and the opening word for Wordle, if there's anyone out there who plays Wordle, you know that the opening word is very personal to people. And people have put a lot of thought and there's a lot of insight. There's a lot of investigation and experimentation that goes into your opening word. So many people want to know, Mark Kaye, what's the best opening word? Or if you play Wordle, people want to know, what's your opening word? And the opening word, it should be a word that has a lot of regularly used letters. It should have multiple vowels in it because that's really important. And you want to make sure that you're using all of your letters in a way that gives you the best possible starting guess so that you can end the Wordle in Tim Walls' case too. But the weird thing about Tim Walls' Wordle, which is it's a weird sentence to say. That's something I never thought I'd hear myself say. The weirdest thing about Tim Walls' Wordle, it's like a Dr. Seuss book or some kind of tongue twister, is that his opening word, the word that he uses first is pride. 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 Now, pride has a lot of different meanings. It could mean that you're proud, which, a lot of people are. It could mean a group of lions. That's also a meaning for the word pride. It could also mean that, you are a proponent or an advocate or a member of the LGBTQ community, because pride is like their whole motto, like pride. They've got the pride flag and they've got Pride Month and they're all pridey. And so Tim Walls wrote pride as his first word. And as you can see, or if you knew the answer, he got 4 letters, 1 of them in the right place and 3 not in the right place. He got the R, the I, the D, and the E, and he immediately jumped to the second word, which he wrote down as weird, and weird was the answer to the Wordle, so he got the Wordle in 2. And he said, that's got to be a sign, people. Now, a lot of people immediately jumped on it and said, yeah, it's a sign that you're gay, because pride is his first word. The other sign, also, if you read it, it says pride weird, which I don't think is the message that Kamala Harris and Tim Walls want to be sending to their electorate. In typical elections, people who are members of the LGBTQ plus community are Democrats, although I've seen more and more gay dudes for Trump this year. I don't know if it's because they think JD Vance is hot. I don't know if it's because they're just sick and tired of paying too much money for whatever it is they're spending their money on. But there's a lot of gay dudes, especially on TikTok, who are all in on Donald Trump. And they're posting about it constantly. They're like, I'm gay, but I'm not stupid. I may be gay, but I'm not an idiot. I'm not self-destructive. I'm voting for Donald Trump over Kamala Harris because Kamala Harris is a horrible leader and an even worse person. So anyway, he posts this. He goes, pride and weird. Yesterday's Wordle in 2. That's got to be a sign, people. And I took it to be a sign. I took it to be a sign that you should probably stop doing the Wordle and start going out campaigning, because you got 48 hours, dude. JD Vance is not posting the Wordle. Okay, if you go to JD Vance, as far as I know, is not doing the Wordle. If he's doing the Wordle, he's not posting it online. If you go to JD Vance's X feed, I'll show you what you have here. Here we go. Here are his posts. He's got a pin post of him at the border. He's got photos of him at a rally in Selma, North Carolina. And he says, thank you, Selma. And it shows him rallying in front of a crowd. Don Jr.'s there. They're talking to voters. Here's a clip of him in, I assume, North Carolina as well. There's him saying, swamp the vote. Thanks to Kamala Harris's policies, America lost 46,000 manufacturing jobs in the last month. We can do better, and we will. Swamp the vote. So these are the kinds of things you would expect somebody who's serious about their campaign to be running or to be posting on X just 48 hours before an election. You would think that if you really wanted to help your campaign, if you really wanted to be the vice president of the United States, you would be out there campaigning, taking photos, posting those photos on your X feed. But instead, Tim Walls is posting his Wordle. And he wants you to know that it's sending him a message. Pride weird. Pride, that's so Ironic, isn't it? And also so very, very appropriate. But look, there's more going on than Tim Walls' weird Wordle, which again is it's the weirdest thing. Tim Walls' weird Wordle. Kamala Harris is out campaigning. She is out campaigning, and her campaign's going about as great as you can expect. She had Cardi B on. Cardi B came to a rally. I think it was either Milwaukee or it was Michigan. I forget. It doesn't really matter because the teleprompter broke. And at the Kamala Harris rally, it's not just Kamala Harris who panics when the teleprompter goes down. When the teleprompter goes, remember she was like 39, 30, whatever it was. Kamala Harris is the only one that panics when the teleprompter goes down. Apparently, everyone involved in the Kamala Harris campaign cannot speak extemporaneously. They can't speak off the cuff. They have no idea what they're saying unless it's written down and put into a computer screen for them. And Cardi B is the same way because Cardi B, and Cardi B's a rapper, right? Like her words are her thing. She's supposed to be like a freestyle queen. Cardi B gets out there and she's all like, I don't know. I'll be honest with you. I don't know any. I do know Cardi B songs, but the lyrics are totally inappropriate. So I'm just going to go, which is kind of what it sounds like anyway. But she gets up on stage and she stands there and the teleprompter goes out and she just stands there.
1 second, guys. 1 second. Okay. So I don't take lightly the call. Sorry, guys. I'm a little nervous. Guys. I've been waiting for this moment my whole life.
Okay, so she tried to cover a little tiny bit. She tried to cover it up by saying, I'm nervous, but the teleprompter still wasn't operating. She still didn't have her speech. She still didn't know what to do, so she just froze again.
I need patience over here. Patience, where are you, girl? I need patience over here.
I mean, at this point.
Hold on. How you guys doing tonight?
Oh, finally, look at that. Finally, after, God, what is it? Let me take a look at it. After a solid minute, she stood there for a solid minute yelling, I need patience, doing nothing, saying nothing. And then finally she goes, you know what? I got a microphone. I have a brain. Maybe I should start talking to these people. How you guys? That's all you got to do. All you got to do is say, how you guys doing tonight? You excited for election day? Who already voted? Who's going to vote? Who are you going to vote for? I mean, it's really basic. It's basic crowd control 101. But I guess for Cardi B, it's, unless it's scripted and pre-planned, it's just, it's a chaotic travesty waiting to happen.
How you guys doing tonight? Are we ready to make history? Are we ready to make history? Are we ready to change these 4 years? No. Are we ready to change the next 8 years? Because we're going to make sure we have Kamala Harris in office for 8 years.
Okay, look, she got it. She got into it. So finally, after a while, she's like, okay, no matter what I say, these people are going to cheer, which is true. Fun fact. And I've been in this situation myself, although I've never not known what to say. That's okay. So I've never been in a situation where I walked out on stage and I needed a teleprompter to allow me to know what to say. I always just knew what to say, or I just made it up as I went along. I never have worked in a situation where there's a teleprompter. I don't know that I could. I'm not like a teleprompter kind of guy. But fun fact, if you ever find yourself in Cardi B's position, if you're ever standing on stage in front of thousands and thousands of people at a rally or something like that, just know, no matter what you say, these people are going to scream. All you got to do is start screaming. In fact, fun fact, I'll tell you a story. I don't usually like to cuss on the radio or on anything. But years ago, I was working in Washington, D.C., and I got a gig at a nightclub. It was called the VIP Club. It was a fancy club downtown in D.C., and my job on Friday night was to go to the VIP Club, get this, at midnight, okay? And they paid me a talent fee or whatever. They gave me a bar tab, and then once or twice, I stayed there for 2 hours. I stayed there from midnight to 2 a.m., and once or twice between midnight and 2 a.m., my job was to go to the DJ booth, introduce myself, and get the crowd going. So for a couple months, I did that. I would take the metro. I would leave my house. It was ridiculous. I would leave my house at like 11. I would get there at midnight. The bouncer would hand me a wad of cash because they only paid me in cash, which I wasn't complaining about. He'd say, your bar tab's over there. I'd go get myself like something stupid like a Red Bull and vodka or something. And then I would just hang out. And then 30 minutes later, I'd go to the DJ booth. I'd be like, hey, can I get the mic? He'd be like, yeah, sure. And I'd go, what's up? It's Mark Kaye from Hot 99.5. Blah, blah. And then people would cheer. And then I'd go back down. I'd get myself a second drink. And then an hour later, I'd make another announcement. And then I would leave, get on the metro, go home, and I'd be home by 3 o'clock in the morning. My wife would wake up. There'd be a big pile of cash on the table, and I'd be passed out. So that was my life for a long time. One day, I walk into a meeting at the radio station, and they go, hey, we need to talk about the VIP club. And I said, what about it? And they said, well, they need, when you do your announcements, and I said, yeah, they go, you need to swear more. And I didn't swear at all. So they go, wait a minute. I said, what? And they go, yeah, they'd like it. They're fine. Everything's good, but they'd like it if you would swear more on the microphone. Now, keep in mind, I am in a professional boardroom during working hours at a major multi-million-dollar broadcasting company in Washington, D.C., and I have sales managers and vice presidents and reps and program directors. We're all in the room, and they're looking at me, and they're like, you need to swear more. And I thought to myself, I go, that's their complaint, that I don't swear enough? And they go, yeah. So I go, I mean, all right. I was like, I was getting free drinks. I was getting cash under the table. I was like, fine, whatever. So I go down the next week and I go, all right, let me try this. And I go to the DJ booth. I go, hey, can I have the mic? And the guy goes, yeah, sure. Here you go. And I go, what's up, people? And they're like, and then yeah. And I go, who here is effed up? And all of a sudden the crowd just went ballistic. Like they started going crazy just because I'd changed. Instead of saying who here is drunk, I said who here is effed up. And man, it was a wild time. And I made that one little tweak and the crowd went wild. Now, what does this have to do with anything? Okay. If you're Cardi B and you're at a Kamala Harris rally, all you have to do is yell something like, how dumb is Donald Trump? Or if she cursed, which we know she does, because it would have been, she knows what to do. She just wasn't doing it. She was just sitting there like a deer in headlights until somebody handed her the script, which somebody eventually did. And I think I don't have that. Yeah, there we go. That was the end of the clip. So she comes out, she gets a phone, and she reads her script. And that was it. That was the Cardi B portion of the Kamala Harris rally. Fun fact, that was better than Kamala Harris's speech. So I won't even play that. Now, at the Donald Trump rally yesterday, something else happened. Donald Trump had some technical difficulties, but it wasn't with the teleprompter because we all know Donald Trump can speak without a teleprompter. In fact, a lot of people wish he wouldn't sometimes, but he does speak without a teleprompter. But no, Donald Trump was wrangling the microphone. He was having some mic issues. And look at this. This is ridiculous. I can't even believe this is the headline that I woke up to, but I woke up to this headline today from the Drudge Report, which is the worst website in the history of the world. Drudge Report used to be the go-to for anyone who was a Trump supporter, a conservative, anyone who wanted real news. Drudge Report used to be the go-to place. Now, this was the headline, blowing it. Trump simulates oral sex on stage. I kid you not. This is not photoshopped. This is not something that, this is not a meme. This is, if you go, and it used to be in red. Earlier today, they had it in the bright red lettering, like it was some big breaking news. But as I say, blowing it, Trump simulates oral sex on stage. Now, I watched the rally. This is not all what happened. This is media propaganda. This is Liz Cheney firing squad 2.0. The Liz Cheney firing squad narrative died a slow death because people realized that's not what Donald Trump was saying. The Liz Cheney firing squad narrative from yesterday, which, if you missed it, allow me to play it for you one more time. This was the Liz Cheney narrative. They were actually trying to tell you that Donald Trump wanted to execute Liz Cheney in his second term.
Let's put her with a rifle standing there with 9 barrels shooting at her, okay? Let's see how she feels about it. When the guns are trained on her face.
Yeah. But that's not at all. He wasn't calling for her execution. He wasn't saying, I'm going to put her in front of a firing squad. He was saying she's a war hawk. She's a warmonger. And if she ever had to go into battle, it would be a totally different story. Here's the actual clip.
I don't blame him for sticking with his daughter, but his daughter's a very dumb individual, very dumb. She's a radical war hawk. Let's put her with a rifle standing there with 9 barrels shooting at her, okay? Let's see how she feels about it. When the guns are trained on her face. You know, they're all war hawks when they're sitting in Washington in a nice building saying, oh, gee, let's send 10,000 troops right into the mouth of the enemy. But she's a stupid person.
So that was a hoax, a rumor, a myth, a lie that was easily and immediately debunked. And there were actually a couple of media people who surprisingly went back and apologized or retracted, I guess I should say, their original statements that Donald Trump was calling for Liz Cheney's execution, because clearly he wouldn't. He wouldn't. He may be thinking it, but he's not saying it. And so that was yesterday's big media lie fest propaganda BS hoax. Today, it's Donald Trump and the microphone. Today, it's Donald Trump, according to the Drudge Report, blowing it, simulating oral sex on stage. Now, let me show you exactly what happened. Here's the short clip, once again, because the short clip is always the one that the media pulls. The short clip is the one that the media, they edit together. And they've got editors, man. They've got people who are, their job is to sit and watch Donald Trump all day. Every rally. Their job is to think about what a miserable job this is. I would love it, but they would hate it. If you're a Democrat, somebody's paying you to watch Donald Trump's every word, every move on stage, everything that he says, and to try to figure out how you can conveniently edit it to make it look like something that it's not, and also something that's vile, disgusting, detestable, or illegal. Like the Liz Cheney thing, which, by the way, Liz Cheney, the AG, the Attorney General of the state of Arizona, is investigating Donald Trump for making death threats. I kid you, I wish I could make this stuff up, but because of the way that they manipulated that Liz Cheney story, because of the way that they took that clip and they ran with it, the Attorney General of Arizona, a border state where there are much bigger problems than Donald Trump talking to Tucker Carlson on stage in Phoenix, the AG is investigating Donald Trump for a potential crime against Liz Cheney.
And Bram Resnick, the political anchor and reporter from our NBC affiliate in Phoenix, KPNX, joins us. Talk about this breaking news regarding Donald Trump's comments that he made about Liz Cheney in Arizona last night. The Attorney General is responding?
That's right. I just spoke to Attorney General Chris Mays about 2 hours ago for the taping of my Sunday show. She told me she just gotten off the phone with her criminal division chief, and she was investigating whether what Donald Trump said about Liz Cheney constituted a death threat under Arizona law. I'll tell you, under Arizona law, it is illegal to make threats or intimidate someone. Can be charged as a Class 1 misdemeanor, Class 6 felony. Chris Mays told me they're looking into it. I asked her whether this was just political speech, free speech. She said we're checking to see if it crossed that line. But she also put it in the larger perspective. If you're here right now, you begin to understand how this place is ready for a high security event on Tuesday, an election. Our sheriff's office is talking about a no tolerance policy for protests. Chris Mays is activating all her agents. Every law enforcement agency in the state is involved with protecting the vote, protecting voters. So that's Chris Mays brought that into the conversation, that for Donald Trump to make these kinds of remarks at this time, such a really fraught and tense moment here in Maricopa County, is just bad.
By the way, great turn of phrase. It's just bad. Well, it's not if you actually were reporting on the truth, but you're not reporting on the truth. You're reporting on these made up BS facts and propaganda that Donald Trump threatened Liz Cheney. And now your Attorney General is in on the act when really Arizona, a border state, has massive immigration problems, human trafficking problems. They've got drug problems. They've got murder problems. They've got criminal cartels and gangs coming in from Venezuela problems. Arizona's got a lot of problems. But the AG is worried about something Donald Trump said to Tucker Carlson about Liz Cheney being a warmonger did you hear the other part of that? The really interesting part of that was how they were talking about Election Day and what they're preparing for. Because in Maricopa County in Arizona and probably a bunch of other really liberal places around the country, they're preparing for mayhem on Election Day. And she said, the sheriff has already said, I am not going to tolerate protests. Okay. So now they're going after Donald Trump for freedom of speech, and they're going after his supporters for freedom of assembly. Have they not read the Constitution, or they just don't care about it? Have they already shredded it out there in Arizona? They're stopping Donald Trump from expressing himself on stage during a political rally, and they're going to stop people on Election Day from protesting, which is their God-given right as long as they do it peaceably by the Constitution. Really, and they're announcing it to the world. The only thing, by the way, that they haven't said that they're going to clamp down on is the Drudge Report, which really is the only thing. That's what really needs to be stopped. Stop the Drudge Report. Stop it. It's gone way too far. But anyway, that was yesterday's hoax. The hoax today is Donald Trump simulating oral sex acts at this Wisconsin rally. And again, there's somebody out there, some poor soul in the Democrat Party who's been tasked with watching Donald Trump 24/7 and manipulating his words and actions into something that they can use to turn people against him. Because look, if Donald Trump is really doing this, if this is happening, if Donald Trump is simulating oral sex on stage, that's not going to play well with the conservative Christians and the fundamentalists on the right. It's not going to play well with soccer moms, suburban soccer moms, or any women. You know, the women that Mark Cuban says are dumb and weak. It's not going to play well with them if Donald Trump is doing all of this. And so that's why they take this story and that's why they run with it. Here is the short clip that they put together for their propagandization. Propagandization? Is that right? For their propaganda piece about Donald Trump at the rally in Milwaukee yesterday. Now, if you just watch that clip as is, you could maybe, if you have a filthy, dirty, disgusting mind, go, yeah, I could see that. I could see that. But if you were watching the rally, or if you just, did some due diligence and watched a little bit more of the clip and didn't take it out of context, you could see that Donald Trump was having microphone issues and told a very long story about the microphone issues that he was having.
But I don't ask for much. I don't ask for much. The only thing I ask for is a good mic. And this is the second time today that this happened. So now if I were the president, and like a dopey guy like this Kelly, the guy's a total moron, and that happened, I'd fire him, and everybody would say, gee, I'm such a bad person. You're not bad. You fire people. When, for instance, the generals that destroyed us in Afghanistan, every one of them should have been fired. Should have been fired. Hello? Hello? I don't think so. Hello? Is that better? Is that better? That's terrible. Is that better back there? Is that yes or no? What crap. The only thing I ask for is a mic. You don't have to give me, I don't even need a stage. I don't give a damn. Give me a good mic. And I went through 2 of these today. And it knocks the hell out of your throat. But so far I'm doing okay, right? Okay. Is that better? Yeah. And did you notice I came in today, I said, and this is after 4 of these things. I mean, in all fairness, I'm a human being, right? I come in, and here's the problem. I said, oh man, it's too low. I said, it's too low. So, I had to go.
So there you go. So Donald Trump clearly talking about his microphone issues and how the microphone wasn't working and how it was too low and how it's a repeated problem. And then he went in to talk about how he wanted to fire the contractors because they brought him a crappy mic. Look, all typical Donald Trump stuff. But the media takes that clip and they edit it and they twist it and they turn it and they run with it. And like I said, the most devastating thing to me, or the most despicable, because look, I could see it. We all have dirty minds. Somebody was sitting there going, oh, look at it. Look, you know what it looks like Trump's doing there? What is that? They're all like, dude, what does that look like to you? I get it. I've been in these situations. I know how people's minds work. But it's one thing to think it. It's another to put it on what is supposedly a major news site. Not only put it on the major, but make it the headline and put it in big red lettering, which they did this morning. The media is dead, folks. The media is dead. The media has destroyed itself. They've committed suicide. They're so angry with Donald Trump that they went up to the top of the roof and they just jumped off. And they thought that they could survive the fall. They're not going to survive this. When Donald Trump wins on Tuesday, they will be corpses laying bloody on the ground. Splat like the coyote. They've jumped off the cliff. They're falling. They're going to fall in a little cloud of smoke. And then we're going to drop a big anvil on their head just to make sure that the job is finished. And it's not just the print media. It's not just the online media. It's all of them. Radio hosts. There are radio hosts out there who have been never Trump, who have despised Donald Trump, talked against Donald Trump, campaigned against Donald Trump, who, guess what? Now that Donald Trump seems like he's going to be the president again, are all, yay, Trump. Trump's the best. This is I've seen it, and with my own eyes. I've heard it with my own ears. People, the roller coaster of never Trumpers in the media, not just radio, television, all over the place, online, on X. There are people out there who have been, I guess you could say, they're the Lindsey Grahams of the media world. If the wind is blowing against Trump, then they turn their back to the guy. And if the wind is blowing right toward Trump, then they are running toward him with open arms. Meanwhile, the rest of us have been on board with Donald Trump since day one, since 2015, 10 years, a decade, through thick and thin, good and bad. They used to tell me, we would have these meetings on the radio. They would tell me all the time, they'd be like, Mark, we loved your show. It's the best show. It's the great, and this is true. I have witnesses. Best show. It's a great show. We love it. It's so funny. It's so entertaining. It's great. One thing though, and I always say what? They go, you never say anything bad about Donald Trump. And I'd say, why would you like me to say something bad about Donald Trump? They go, well, it's just nobody's perfect. Maybe you could just say, if you think he did something wrong, or if you think he did something bad, or if you think if you disagree with him in any way, then, maybe you could voice those concerns, because you always just talk good about the guy. And I would always say, there are hundreds of thousands of people in this industry who all they do every single day is talk bad about Trump. I feel like if somebody wants somebody to talk bad about Trump, then you know what? There's plenty of places they can go. Here, I'm going to focus on the positives, and because we've got a country to save. We're not just looking to sell cars or promote personal injury attorneys. We've got a higher calling. They didn't like that. And that's why now I sit here at home and I do it. But, and it doesn't matter. There's all kinds of people out there in the media, and they are now becoming pro-Trump again. They were never Trump. They were Trump's going down. They were Trump's gone crazy. They're Trump's horrible. And now they're like, oh, you know what? Trump is going to be the greatest president, and the media they're so bad, yada, 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 yada. It happens every single time Donald Trump gets this much closer to getting elected. And that's what's going to happen, knock on wood, on Tuesday. Now, we're still having our big party. Our big party, man, I'm so excited about it. Tomorrow, we got a bunch of decorations in, and we're going to start putting together the decorations for our VIPs. We have our swag bags and some really cool stuff that we got together, so it's going to be a blast. If you can join us, by all means, join us. And I want to make sure that you understand this. While this is a live watch party, it's also going to be a live streamed watch party. So if you can't make it live to Sneakers in Jacksonville Beach, Florida, 111 Beach Boulevard, 7 p.m. till God knows when, if you can't make it out live, by all means, you can watch the show right here. You can watch it on YouTube. You can watch it on Facebook. You can watch it on X. Wherever you happen to be watching it right now, you can watch it live, because we're going to be doing this is the whole part of it. It's not just, hey, come on out and get drunk with us. That's fun and all. But we're also going to be doing the live stream. We're going to be talking to people live on site, bringing you the election results. So if you'd like to swing by, make sure again that you're subscribed. Make sure you're subscribed. Make sure that you have the notification set, and make sure you're planning to join us. 7 p.m. is when the fun starts. That's when the polls close on the East Coast. And at 7 p.m. we're going to start broadcasting, and we're going to go till hopefully we'll know by the end of the night. And if Donald Trump's Virginia rally goes well, and let's see if he started. He hadn't started yet. If Donald Trump's Virginia rally goes well, and if the rest of the rallies go well, and if everything else goes well, and if this thing ends up the way that we feel like it's going to end up, then we'll be partying. And I believe I still believe that there's a way we will know on Tuesday night who the next president of the United States is. And I believe there's a way that we'll know not only who the next president of the United States is, but that president is Donald Trump. And if we don't, it's going to take a couple of days. So look, I'm not promising that I'm going to go live the entire time because it may take till Thursday, but we will be there for the majority of the evening. And we want you definitely to join us. There's a lot of other races, though, too. Don't forget, it's not just the presidency that's important. The presidency is super important, very important. It's the most important election we've ever had. But we also need to make sure that we have Republicans in the House. We need to make sure that we have a majority of Republicans in the House. We need to make sure we have a majority of Republicans in the Senate. We need to make sure that a Republican president like Donald Trump and a Republican vice president like J.D. Vance, we need to make sure that these guys have the tools they need. We want to make sure they are prepared. We want to make sure that we send them to do work and we send them with the hammers and the saws and the nails and the chisels and the screws and everything else they need to build back our country. I almost said build back better, but I wasn't about to do that. They have to make America great again. And it's a lot easier if they have Republicans helping them out in the House and Republicans helping them out in the Senate. And there's one race in particular in New Hampshire, District 2. New Hampshire is a really interesting state. And I'm a big fan of New Hampshire. I always have been a big fan of New Hampshire. For example, New Hampshire is the live free or die state. And any state that's like live free or die, I'm all about. When you look at the map of New England states, it is the most conservative of all. There's more conservatives in New Hampshire. There's more liberty-loving, freedom-defending, patriotic people in New Hampshire than there is in Vermont, clearly. Then I would say even Maine, although Maine's a close second. Massachusetts, Connecticut, they're surrounded by these blue-blooded liberals. They're surrounded by these blue-blooded liberals for generations. These have been, the Kennedys, for crying out loud, live there. This is what New Hampshire's dealing with, and they are still somewhat conservative, and I believe a purple state, and I believe Donald Trump will win New Hampshire. I believe that for a long time, and I believe it still today. And if Donald Trump doesn't win New Hampshire, I will be saddened. Maybe not shocked, but saddened. But I do believe he's got a fighting chance. Well, there was a clip that was released of a woman named Lily Tang Williams. And Lily Tang Williams is running for office in New Hampshire. And she's running for Congress in the 2nd District of New Hampshire. And I'm going to play you this clip because it went viral. Lily Tang Williams' reaction. This is during a debate. I forget the name of the woman she's running against, but I believe the incumbent is favored in this. Listen to this response by Lily Tang Williams in New Hampshire and tell me this isn't the kind of person you want in the U.S. House of Representatives.
And hope for the best. Hope that the results will trickle down to hardworking people. I take a very different approach. I believe that the middle class deserves a tax cut, and I believe that we will do a lot for this country by ensuring that we don't continue this disastrous tax policy.
Mr. Williams.
You are wealthy. You're worth $20 million to $30 million. How do you know about regular people suffering? Do you go shopping, go to Walmart, buy food? I talk to those people. And you pretend to be renter in Nashua a few months ago, moved back to run for this open seat with millions of dollars from Washington, D.C. insiders. And the millions of dollars. I don't have money to run a TV ad. And you pretend you are poor, complain rent is so high. You couldn't save that apartment for other people to rent in Nashua. Just go back to your $2 million home in Portsmouth. Please don't say that because you do not understand regular people's concern. People cry in my arms on this issue.
Man, isn't that amazing? That was Lily Tang Williams. Maggie Goodlander is her opponent, and Maggie Goodlander is leading by a slim margin. She's got 51% of the polling average right now. And apparently, again, I knew very little. I haven't really looked into the New Hampshire race, but now I'm gonna. This woman, Lily Tang Williams, who ripped her a new one, is saying, "Oh, please don't even bring that. You're pretending to be poor. You live in a $2 million house in Portsmouth, but you've come in here. You're renting an apartment in Nashua, pretending to be one of the people. You're a carpetbagging you know what, and you don't have any right to come in here and talk about the needs of the people of New Hampshire." And man, she was fired up. This is a woman clearly who wants to represent the people of New Hampshire, who wants to get rid of these swamp creatures, and who doesn't want these elitist Democrats pretending to be something they're not so that they can come in and steal the votes from the hardworking people. I mean, it was such a, listen to it one more time.
And hope for the best. Hope that the results will trickle down to hardworking people. I take a very different approach. I believe that the middle class deserves a tax cut, and I believe that we will do a lot for this country by ensuring that we don't continue this disastrous tax policy.
Mr. Wade.
You are wealthy. You're worth $20 million to $30 million. How do you know about regular people suffering? Do you go shopping, go to Walmart, buy food? I talk to those people. And you pretend to be renter in Nashua a few months ago, moved back to run for this open seat with millions of dollars from Washington, D.C. insiders. And the millions of dollars. I don't have money to run a TV ad. And you pretend you are poor, complain rent is so high. You couldn't save that apartment for other people to rent in Nashua. Just go back to your $2 million home in Portsmouth. Please don't say that, because you do not understand regular people's concern.
Oh man, I really want her to win. I wish if I didn't have a live party, I would fly to New Hampshire and campaign for Lily Tang Williams. If you live in New Hampshire or you know anyone in New Hampshire, tell them that this woman's got it. Could you imagine Lily Tang Williams in Congress with the likes of, I don't know, Marjorie Taylor Greene, Lauren Boebert, Matt Gaetz, Kat Kamak, Byron Donalds? Could you imagine? You throw Lily Tang Williams in there, and we could create a brand new squad on the Republican side. Anna Paulina Luna. I mean, forget about it. There's so many great combative conservatives. This is the strong, intelligent woman, by the way, that Donald Trump surrounds himself, even though Mark Cuban says, nah, they're all dumb and weak. That's an amazing clip. It went viral, and it's so great because it exposes once again how open and accepting the Republican Party is of anybody and everybody. I mean, here's a woman. She's clearly an Asian woman who is running as a Republican. She's middle class, and she's attacking what? Another white, wealthy, elitist Democrat pretending to be someone they're not. She's worth $20 to $30 million. She's renting an apartment in Nashua to look poor when really she has a $2 million house in Portsmouth. And by the way, New Hampshire, a $2 million home is a pretty big home. You know, it's not like New York City where $2 million gets you a one-bedroom apartment if you're lucky in a walk-up. No, New Hampshire, Portsmouth, you can still get a very large mansion for $2 million. It's a lot like most places you still can, although with Kamala Harris and Joe Biden in office, it's probably not worth anywhere near that anymore. But this is it's a great example of how the left works. They lie, they pretend to be something they're not, and they do it to pander to a group of people that they only want to vote for them and they don't want to represent. She doesn't care about the people of Portsmouth, New Hampshire. She doesn't care about the people in Nashua. She doesn't care about the people in District 2. All she cares about is getting elected. So if she's got to slum it in a condo, she'll do it. And Lily Tang Williams is going to call her out on it. I don't have money for a TV ad, she said. And here you are coming in with your big donor money from DC. And that's exactly what it is. This woman was handpicked. She was selected. She was told, hey, you run, we'll pay for you. And we will, you run, we'll pay for you. And you will be able to, what we'll do is we'll make sure that you win. And so that is where we are today. That is what's happening in New Hampshire. But it's not just New Hampshire. Look, it's not just the Democrat elites in these smaller races or these House races that are pretending to be someone they're not because they're getting bankrolled by the DNC. It's also Kamala Harris. Kamala Harris is pandering. And we knew she was going to do, and we knew, she's been doing it for a while. The Democrats all have. Kamala Harris has been pandering to the pro-Israel segment of the Democrat Party because traditionally and typically Jewish people vote for Democrats. I still don't know why. Still don't get it. I'm really baffled by it. Some people have tried to explain it to me. I just don't understand. But the pro-Israel Jewish contingent of Democrat voters who are big money donors, these are voters and donors that she's got to placate or else she's not going to be president. And she's battling a message that meets up or that works well for the pro-Jewish, pro-Israel contingent. But she's also got to make sure that she doesn't inflame the inflammatory and totally crazy and bonkers pro-Palestinian movement, which has taken over the Ivy League schools, which has taken over a lot of the other institutions, which has taken over Congress and the Capitol, and which Rashida Tlaib and Ilhan Omar have invited into the rotunda so they could have their pro-Palestinian parties right there where government officials are trying to do work and make laws and govern. This is the nightmare scenario for the Democrat Party. Kamala Harris has got to figure out how to get these two groups of people who despise each other, who hate each other, whose ancestors and really their their relatives across the pond are engaged in battle right now. In the Middle East, you've got the pro-Palestinians versus the Jewish Israelis. And here at home in the Democrat Party, the same groups are fighting. And Kamala Harris has to figure out a way to make sure that both of those groups see something in her that makes them want to vote for her. It's a difficult task. It's a tough tightrope to walk. And Kamala Harris just fell off. In fact, she didn't fall off. She was pushed off. And wouldn't you know it, she was pushed off by her friends at CNN, who clearly don't want her to be president anymore, because they did a piece, an expose, if you will, on how Kamala Harris is playing two different ads to pander to two different segments of the population. Listen to this.
Tonight, mixed messages. A Kaye file investigation this hour finds Kamala Harris is targeting crucial battleground voters with vastly different messages on Gaza and Israel. This ad is running in Michigan, which has the largest Arab population in America.
What has happened in Gaza over the past 9 months is devastating. We cannot allow ourselves to become numb to the suffering, and I will not be silent.
All right, well, it's a very different story for an ad in Pennsylvania targeting Jewish voters.
Let me be clear. I will always stand up for Israel's right to defend itself, and I will always ensure Israel has the ability to defend itself, because the people of Israel must never again face the horror that a terrorist organization called Hamas caused on October 7.
Different message. Andrew Kaczynski is out front now. So, Andrew, those obviously do sound starkly different, to say the least. Tell me more about what you found.
Yeah, that's right. And this really illustrates the sort of fine line that the Harris campaign is trying to walk here in the closing weeks, closing days of this campaign on the issue of Israel. Here you have two entirely different constituencies, and they are getting two entirely different messages. There are often times these constituencies have very opposing views on this. If you are a Jewish person in Pennsylvania, you saw that ad that you're getting. You are getting that ad that talks about how strong she is in Israel. If you're a Muslim voter in Michigan, you are getting that ad on Facebook that's talking about how she won't be silent on the issue of Gaza. Now, what's really interesting here is that ad that we just played, the one that's going to Jewish voters in Pennsylvania. Now, it sort of sounds like those two clips of her talking about Israel are together, but they actually cut part of it out. Take a listen to what they cut.
What has happened in Gaza over the past 10 months is devastating. President Biden and I are working to end this war such that Israel is secure, the hostages are released, the suffering in Gaza ends, and the Palestinian people can realize their right to dignity, security, freedom, and self-determination.
And you've seen, too, that they cut out that portion of the ad where they talked about Gaza from her DNC speech. Those two parts were together. They sliced them. They cut that part out. Now, look, she's also getting hammered a lot on this issue by Republicans. We talked just a couple days ago about how those robocalls were airing in Wisconsin that are made to sound like they're in support of Jill Stein, talking about her position on Gaza, saying that they're highlighting her pro-Israel position, and they're sort of trying to siphon those votes away from her. So this is a really delicate issue for her.
Oh, it certainly is. I mean, the Palestinian people can realize their right to dignity, security, freedom, and self-determination are being cut out. It's important to notice that. All right, now you also have tonight mixed.
Hold on, we don't want to hear it again. It's important to point out to CNN's viewers that the Kamala Harris campaign has cut out a large portion of her pandering to the pro-Palestinian movement when they're playing a clip of the speech in Pennsylvania. Now, keep in mind, Pennsylvania, a lot of Jewish voters. Josh Shapiro, Jewish governor. A lot of people believe the only reason Josh Shapiro isn't her running mate, isn't running for vice president of the United States, is because his last name is Shapiro and she's got to placate. I mean, think about it. You can't have a Harris Shapiro ticket and think you're going to win Michigan, because there's just too many of these pro-Palestinian Muslims in Michigan to ever vote for a Jewish man. Forget about it. They're just never going to do it. And they always talk about how the racism and the misogyny is on the right. How there's so many people that don't want to, come on, man. It's time to man up and vote for a woman. They're trying to tell you that if you don't vote for somebody just because she's a woman, it makes you a misogynist and it makes you less of a man. If you vote for someone because if you don't vote for somebody because he's a black man or she's a black woman, it makes you a racist. Meanwhile, they're out there knowing full well that the Michigan Muslims would never vote for Josh Shapiro, so they go with Tampon Tim Walz. I mean, it's a tough decision. They had to make it. But now, when they're advertising, they realize, holy cow, we can't have a strong pro-Israel message running in Michigan. We've got to have a pro-Palestinian message running in Michigan. But we've got to make sure we cut out that part about Palestinian people having the life and the freedom and the dignity before we run that ad in Jewish Pennsylvania, or else we're going to lose that state for sure. And of course, they're both must-win states for Kamala Harris. She must win them. And now CNN is making sure that everybody knows exactly the smoke that she's blowing up their butts. I don't know, between Anderson Cooper calling her out of that town hall meeting and making her look like a bigger idiot than making her look like as big an idiot as she probably is. Between Anderson Cooper and then the other day we played you the clips from what's his name? Anton, who was their pollster, who was talking about how there's no way historically she can win this race. Now they're outing her on her hypocrisy in her advertising in these swing states between the Palestinian issue and the Jewish issue. CNN does not want Kamala Harris to win. I don't know what she did to tick them off. I don't know what she did to annoy these people, but CNN is all in it for Donald Trump. CNN doesn't want Kamala. And I think I know what it is. Think about it. I want you to think about this. I think I've gotten to the bottom of it, okay? CNN is an anti-Trump network. Okay, they're not a pro-Kamala network. They're anti-Trump. And CNN and so many of the people on their network made their millions. They cut their teeth. They really became household names because of their negative interactions with Donald Trump. And the reason why everybody knows who Jim Acosta is, and the reason why Jim Acosta is no longer a White House correspondent but has his own show in the studio is because of Donald Trump. If Donald Trump weren't president, Jim Acosta would be a nobody. Anderson Cooper, same thing. Anderson Cooper was a very popular guy. Anderson Cooper, sure, a lot of people knew who Anderson Cooper was, but I'll tell you what, there is a newfound, I guess you would say, stardom that Anderson Cooper has enjoyed ever since Donald Trump became president. Same thing with the other horrible guy. What's his name? Why do I forget? Oh, Jake Tapper. Forget about it. Jake Tapper would have been thrown in the dustbin of mediocrity had it not been for Donald Trump. They need Donald Trump. Kamala Harris, she's not going to make them superstars. She's not going to get anyone she's not going to get any eyes on CNN. They can't clickbait Kamala Harris crap. I think they took a look at it and they realized, because look, they had 4 years of Donald Trump, and the 4 years of Donald Trump, I think they did pretty well. I think CNN rose right up to the top of the heap during Donald Trump. And Donald Trump was a big part of that fake news, labeling them fake news, turning them into an enemy. If you have a common enemy, then you've got content every single day. And then they had 3.5 years of Joe Biden. And maybe the 3.5 years of Joe Biden didn't do so well. In fact, I seem to recall that over the last 3.5 years of Joe Biden, CNN has gone through some major changes and shakeups. They started to lose their audience. They started to bleed viewers because they didn't have Donald Trump to beat up anymore. Instead of beating up Donald Trump, and instead of lying about Donald Trump, and instead of pushing anti-Trump propaganda and BS, they had to be nice to Joe Biden. They had to talk nice about Joe Biden. They had to have what's his name? Humpty Dumpty. What's that guy's name? You know, the guy that they fired and then they hired back. I always forget his name. They had to have him suck up to Jen Psaki and say, what more can we do to help you? And nobody wants to watch that. They want to watch you. They want to watch you attacking the sitting president. And they want to watch the sitting president attack you right back. I think CNN looked at the 4 years of Donald Trump, looked at the 4 years of Joe Biden and said, guys, we need Donald Trump back, or else there's going to be some serious layoffs. I think Anderson Cooper knows that if they have 4 more years of Kamala Harris, if they have 4 more years of a Democrat in the White House, that he's headed for an early retirement. There's no way CNN's going to be able to sustain his substantial salary. There's no way CNN's going to be able to keep him and Jake Tapper and Wolf Blitzer and Caitlin Collins. Caitlin Collins, forget about it. She knows. The only reason Caitlin Collins is anywhere is because Donald Trump called her a nasty woman on stage. She acted like she hated it and she was disgusted, but she knew as soon as Donald Trump stood up and said to her, "You're a nasty woman." As soon as those words came out of his mouth on that town hall, Caitlin Collins, you know what she heard? Cash registers. Cha-ching, cha-ching. I'm going to be famous now. Thank you, Donald Trump. And she wants 4 more years of it too. She wants 4 more years of attacking Republicans instead of trying to coddle Democrats. It just pays better if you're anti-Trump. They're not pro-Kamala. They're not pro-Biden. These people are capitalists. I know they seem like socialists. I know we say that all the time, but they've realized they've got to pay the bills. And Donald Trump pays their bills. Beating up on Republicans pays their bills. Coddling to Democrats and pretending Joe Biden's not half gone, pretending that Joe Biden isn't totally off his gourd, pretending that Kamala Harris is, joyful and intelligent and fully capable of taking on the world's meanest dictators and nuclear threats. Pretending that she wasn't the border czar, that doesn't get them anywhere. That probably loses them money. And in this day and age, with this economy, everybody wants to make some more money. That's what I believe, and that's why I think that CNN is turning on Kamala Harris. They see the end is near, and they're just trying to destroy her as much as they can. Speaking of which, by the way, a lot of people, because I talk a lot about the news and I talk a lot about my news sources, and you guys know where I go. Sometimes for my polling, I share with you some of the people that, in fact, I need to add somebody to the list because my wife just showed me this. Hang on, I want to pull this up. I haven't yet seen it, but I want to take a quick look at it. There's a guy that I follow, Colin Rugg, and he brings us a lot of great content for sure. But there's a new clip from Joe Biden. Hang on, let me play this for you real quick. And then this is look at this. President Joe Biden says Republicans like Donald Trump are the type of guys you'd like to smack in the ass. Hold on, I haven't heard this yet. We're hearing it live for the first time. Here we go.
But I'm serious. These are the kind of guys you like to smack in the ass. You like to smack in the ass. But I'm serious.
Wait, what? Wait, is that Tim Walz? Is that Joe Biden? These are the kind of guys you'd like to smack in the ass?
But I'm serious. These are the kind of guys you like to smack in the ass. You like to smack in the ass. But I'm serious.
Wow.
These are the kind of guys you like to smack in the ass. You like to smack in the ass.
What is happening? Where have all the men gone in the Democrat Party? What is happening here? Joe Biden is smacking guys, likes to smack guys in the ass, Republican guys? Is it because they're so manly and they have so much testosterone? Is it because they have that toxic masculinity? Joe Biden's like, oh, those toxic masculine guys. He didn't say I want to slap him in the face. He didn't say I want to take him out behind the woodshed like he did to Donald Trump that one time. He said he wants to smack him in the ass.
But I'm serious. These are the kind of guys you like to smack in the ass. You like to smack in the ass.
What is going on? What is going on? I don't even know what to say to that. In what context does that even come up? That is just, wow. That is just wild. Thank you. Joe Biden is really, he really is the gift that keeps on giving. By the way, don't forget, this is just on don't forget, this is on the cusp. This is right after Joe Biden called us all garbage earlier in the week.
The only garbage I see floating out there is his supporters.
Yeah, and now he's going off the deep end again, saying he wants to smack some Republican dudes in the buttocks, which is kind of it's a bizarre thing to say, even for Joe Biden. But you have to realize this is exactly how they think of us. And the other thing is they always kind of go back to violence. And the other thing is, there's so many things that I have to talk about with this. The other thing is that Joe Biden is so far gone that he's been fired. He's been fired by the Democrat Party. Joe Biden will no longer be on any robocalls. Joe Biden will no longer be on any phone calls with Voto Latino or anyone else. I'm not really sure why he's in Pennsylvania for this Harris Walls thing, but Joe Biden has been fired. He was supposed to do fundraising calls. He's supposed to be like, hey guys, it's Joe Biden. Please vote for my good buddy, Kamala Harris. Hey guys, it's Joe Biden. They threw me off the ticket, but I guess you should vote for Kamala. They're not doing it anymore. They just can't trust him because anytime they put Joe Biden in front of a group of people, he embarrasses them. Same with Bill Clinton. Bill Clinton will not be doing any more campaigning for Kamala Harris because Kamala Harris, it does not trust them, does not like them, and they've done nothing but a disservice to her and her campaign over the past couple of weeks. What with their comments about, Bill Clinton, forget about it. First, he called Carrie Lake hot. Then he said if we vetted Lake and Riley's killer, she'd still be alive today. Then he went on to say, look, we know that the economy is better under Donald Trump, but that's no reason not to vote for Kamala. Joe Biden's out there calling people garbage, and now he's saying he wants to smack Republican guys in the ass. It's like we're watching an episode of Veep live. We're watching an episode of Veep live in front of our eyes. It is so wild and so bizarre. Speaking of wild and bizarre, there's another story that I wanted to do, and it's a weird story, and it's not really political, but it's also kind of political. It's a story about a squirrel named Peanut. And Peanut the squirrel belonged to a guy named Mark Longo. Mark Longo is he's like an internet influencer, he's a celebrity, and he had a pet squirrel named Peanut, and he had a pet raccoon named Fred, and Peanut and Fred lived with him in his house, and they would do all kinds of fun stuff together. They would do these cool things where they would fly around. The squirrel would fly around. They'd eat little waffles together. And I'm sure you've seen the story of Peanut. It's been trending all day because what happened was Peanut the squirrel, I guess, I'm not really 100% sure. I'm not really 100% sure how it happened. But somebody, I think, complained. One of the neighbors called it in. Something happened, and Peanut the squirrel was taken away from Mark Longo by the state authorities in the state of New York, where he lives. They took him away, and after they took him away, or while he was being taken away from this guy's house, forcibly, the animal, the squirrel, bit whoever it was, one of the people that was in one of the, that was facilitating his removal. And because the guy got bit by a squirrel, they had to test it for rabies. And the only way to test a squirrel for rabies is to kill it. Apparently, you can't test a squirrel for rabies if the squirrel's alive. So they euthanized Peanut the squirrel. And this just became the biggest story of everyone's life. Here's Peanut, by the way. See, he's wearing a little cowboy hat because he's cool like that. Here's his buddy Mark Longo, Peanut's owner Mark Longo, and the squirrel just sits on it. Look, he had like 500,000 subscribers on Instagram. He had 1 million subscribers on TikTok. He's just a gentle little squirrel, didn't hurt anybody. There he is in a New York Rangers cap, just chilling. There he is eating a waffle. He loved waffles, apparently. He's hanging on to, I don't know what's going on there. I don't know. Again, it's a man and a squirrel. And he was just like a happy-go-lucky squirrel. And then the authorities in New York came and seized him and killed him. And now he's like a squirrel folk hero. It's a very tragic and sad story. TMZ did an interview with Mark Longo. I'll just play you some of it.
We just learned that they have euthanized Peanut.
And the raccoon as well.
And the raccoon as well. I am so sorry. This must be really difficult for you.
It not only tears my family apart, but Peanut was the cornerstone of our nonprofit animal rescue. And 10 to 12 DEC officers raided my house as if I was a drug dealer. I was sat outside my house for 5 hours. I had to get a police escort to my bathroom. I wasn't even allowed to feed my rescue horses breakfast or lunch. I was sat there like a criminal after they interrogated my wife to check out her immigration status, then proceeded to ask me if I had cameras in my house, then proceeded to go through every cabinet, nook, and cranny of my house for a squirrel and a raccoon.
They got a search warrant?
They got a search warrant. 4 departments and a judge signed off on a search warrant for a squirrel and a raccoon. And then they took them and killed them.
Why did they go through all that to get a search warrant for an animal that had been with you very safely, and the world witnessed this, for 7 years? Why now suddenly did they show up with a search warrant and take these animals?
We haven't a clue. We don't know who made the complaints. Again, Peanut was an indoor squirrel, not harming anybody. He's been with us for 7 years. Not a single complaint was ever filed for this animal. We had him for 7.5 years. He became the world's most famous squirrel. We weren't hiding him by any means.
So Peanut, the world's most famous squirrel, was taken from this guy's house and euthanized. And Fred the raccoon, his buddy Fred the raccoon, was also taken from the house and also euthanized. And 4 agencies and a judge signed off on this order. They grabbed the squirrel, they grabbed the raccoon, they put him down. And that's it. That's the end of the story. After 7 years, he has no idea. Probably some Karen, some neighbor that like was complaining about it or didn't like the squirrel or thought maybe the squirrel. Who knows? There's people are crazy. They don't mind their own business. Some Karen called up and complained about it. Well, after this story broke, there was a statement by President Trump, which apparently is not real, but I don't care. I'm going to report on it anyway. There was a statement because whoever wrote this, the sentiment is very true. Statement by President Donald J. Trump. Again, I believe that the campaign has said we did not write this statement, but I want you to listen to the sentiment because the sentiment could come directly from Donald Trump. There have been horrible reports out of New York, my former home state, where state environmental agents raided the home of Mark Longo and his wife. They were taken into custody. Fred the raccoon and Peanut the squirrel were killed. New York authorities, under their terrible governor, put more effort into finding and eliminating a squirrel who was innocent by all accounts than they do to control the unchecked illegal immigrants who have flooded into their state. If Peanut could have told them he was from Mexico, they would have sent him on his way and given him a hotel room and a $500 gift card to Buddy Squirrel. Instead, he was taken from his family, very sad, and a complete waste of resources. Again, that is a parody statement from Donald Trump, but the actual sentiment of that statement rings 100% true. You have a guy who is on the internet with a squirrel and a raccoon, and clearly you can see that the squirrel and the raccoon aren't hurting anybody. He's wearing a cowboy hat. I mean, maybe it was a Giants fan or something who called in because they saw the squirrel in a cowboy hat. This guy says he's an indoor squirrel. Clearly they're outdoor here, but evidently he wasn't like interacting with other rabid squirrels or dirty, disgusting rodents. He was just hanging out with his buddy, and they were eating waffles together. They just loving life, creating content, not hurting anybody. But the state of New York, where there are illegal immigrants residing in hotels, where there are Venezuelan gangs in Times Square who have basically taken over the joint, where you have police getting attacked and regular citizens getting attacked, where you have homeless problems, where you have crime surging, where you have people fleeing the state. Again, New York is so poorly run that here in the state of Florida, we have seen an influx of New Yorkers coming down. And that is why in this election, for the first presidential election, in history, you'll see that the state of Florida has more electoral votes than the state of New York. We have more representatives than the state of New York. Here in the state of Florida, we have 30 electoral votes because so many New Yorkers came down here and they left their politics at home. They said, Kathy Hochul, you've destroyed this state and we're leaving. They've said, Mayor Adams, Mayor de Blasio, you've destroyed our city and we're leaving. And now, here's a prime example. 4 state agencies are wasting time getting a famous internet squirrel and a raccoon who aren't causing any trouble out of this guy's house. That is misplaced. That is misplaced priorities. That is exactly why states like New York, states like California, states like Washington State, all these places, that's why they're having the troubles that they're having. That's why they're losing ground. And when you lose people, when you lose your population, you not only lose income, but you lose your power. And you lose your power because, well, as we've seen, the power goes with the population. If the population moves to Florida, Florida gets the power. Florida gets the representation in Congress. Florida gets the electoral votes. That's the way it is. If Kamala Harris loses by 2 electoral votes, you can blame Kathy Hochul in the state of New York because the state of New York used to have more electoral votes. If Kamala Harris loses by 2 electoral votes, you can blame the mismanagement of the Uber libs in New York State because winning New York 4 years ago brought with it more electoral votes than it does this year. And that's the truth. And now we're starting to see it because of Peanut the squirrel and Fred the raccoon. It's a very sad story, but it is something that, again, I think we all need to realize just how badly the Democrats run every aspect of government and how, again, we always say local government, these presidential politics are fun. You got Donald Trump, he's riding a trash truck. You've got Donald Trump, he's working at McDonald's. Donald Trump's on stage saying point guns at Liz Cheney. They're saying that he's doing disgusting, despicable, horrible, pornographic things to a microphone. It's fun. I get it. Watching Donald Trump speak is way more exciting than going downtown and watching your local, school board or watching your city council. But look at what really affects people. Look at what really affects your day to day. Think about during COVID. It wasn't Donald Trump who shut down your school and told your kids they couldn't go play baseball or basketball. It wasn't Donald Trump who told your business they had to shut down or that you couldn't have customers come into your place of business, thus shutting down multiple restaurants and other small businesses and putting people out of work. It wasn't Donald Trump who did any of that. It wasn't even really Joe. I mean, it was kind of Joe Biden, but it wasn't even really Joe Biden. It was the local officials. Your local officials, your city council, your mayor, your school board. These people affect your life more than the president really ever can. They affect your life more than your senator ever can. Your state senators and your state representatives and your state judges are the ones that you really should be paying the most attention to. Look, you got Donald Trump, Kamala Harris. There's a couple of other candidates on there. Nobody really cares. But you got Jill Stein, I guess. You got Donald Trump and Kamala Harris. You know the difference. You know who's what. You know which is which. You know who stands for which. But what you really need to know is which person down the ballot on your hyper-local elections, where do they stand on the issues? What are they going to do for you, or more importantly, to you, when the poop hits the fan? Are they going to stand up for your rights, or are they going to force you into submission because they fear the power of the federal government? What are they going to do? Are they going to have your back, or are they going to back you into a corner? What are they going to do? Those judges, when they say, shall justice so-and-so be retained or shall judge so-and-so be retained, that's not a coin flip. That's important. We see what's going on with judges. We know how important judges are. These appellate court judges, these local judges, if they're constitutionalists, if they're conservative constitutionalists, then you don't have a problem. If they are left-wing lunatic, city organizers that want to legislate from the bench instead of just interpreting the laws that have been legislated in your state Senate, then you got a real issue. And if you don't know the difference between the two when you go in there, then you probably shouldn't be voting for them. Same thing with the amendments. The amendments in your state, here we have amendments in the state of Florida, which I'm pretty clear on, but you have amendments on your ballot and they will determine how your life is lived more really than whether Donald Trump or Kamala Harris are president of the United States. And those amendments, so many, are written in a way that's confusing. So you think voting yes is really what you want to do, but if you really read through it closely, you'd be like, no, voting yes is not what I want to do. I would like to vote no. Here in Florida, we have a bevy of amendments, always do. It sickens me how we amend our Constitution every 2 years for the dumbest things. We have an amendment to the state constitution against greyhound racing, which to me doesn't seem like a amendment to the Constitution kind of problem. Greyhound racing, if you're against it, seems to me like something you go to your senator for. And you say, hey, can we pass some laws? Can we get some regulation? Can we deregulate the greyhound racing industry? No, here in Florida, we actually have an amendment on we have so many constitutional amendments, it's ridiculous. But that's just the way it goes. You need to know about your local government, especially if you're going out to vote on Tuesday, because these are the people that are going to snatch your squirrels. These are the squirrel snatchers. In the state of New York, Donald Trump, Kamala Harris, whoever it is, the senators, any of these people, if you are looking at the state of New York, the main players from the state of New York, they had nothing to do with snatching Mark Longo's squirrel. And if you don't want your squirrel to get snatched, you've got to make sure that you're electing the right people. You've got to make sure that you are in there and you are doing what you need to do to make sure that the people that you're putting in place, Chuck Schumer, for example, Kristen Gillibrand, these people have nothing to do with squirrels getting snatched. But that's where all of the focus goes come election time. Don't get me wrong. You shouldn't vote for either of those clowns either because they're horrible people. But anyway, that's it. Now, Donald Trump's rally. This is Donald Trump's, I think it's his third rally today in North Carolina. Is it his third or I think he's got three, or he's got one more after this. Hang on 1 second. Let me go to the website real quick. Donald Trump. And what he's doing is he is basically just, this guy's going whole hog till election day. Donald Trump is like, look, we've got very little time. We've got to make sure we get every single vote. I'm not going to stop. I'm not going to pause. I'm not going to go home. I'm not going to chill at Mar-a-Lago. I'm not going to play golf. I'm not going to do the Wordle like some candidates are doing. I'm going to go out and I'm going to rally. And he's got a rally, let's see, Salem, Virginia today at 4. And then, he's got 2 more rallies. So he's going to Salem, Virginia, and then he's going back to North Carolina. He was in Rockingham. He's going to Salem. He's going back to Greensboro for another rally. Then he's here, I'll show you. He's got, let's see, Donald Trump to hold a rally in Salem, Virginia. All right, he's an hour late for that one, but he'll get there. President Trump to hold a rally in Greensboro, North Carolina. That's at 7:30. I'm guessing that's going to be a little later. President Donald J. Trump to hold a rally in Lititz, Pennsylvania. That's a great place. It's a great place to visit. President Donald Trump, rally in Kinston, North Carolina. Tomorrow he's back in North Carolina. Macon, Georgia. Raleigh, North Carolina. Reading, Pennsylvania. Michigan on Monday. We are 48 hours away from the election, and Donald Trump still, let's see, it's Saturday. We have Sunday and Monday, and then it's election day. We are 48, maybe 56 hours away from this election, and Donald Trump has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 rallies. 9 rallies between now and election day. Monday, November the 4th, he'll be rallying at 10:30 p.m. in Grand Rapids, Michigan. And you know what the thing about this Grand Rapids, Michigan rally is? If you're going to this Grand Rapids, Michigan rally at 10:30 p.m. on Monday, if you're going to the Grand Rapids, Michigan rally, 10:30 p.m. Monday, November the 4th at the Van Andel Arena, if you're going to that rally, guess what? You're probably going to the last Donald Trump rally, which I'll be honest with you, give you chills just to say it. The last Donald Trump rally after 10 years of rallies. Rallies in 2015, rallies in 2020. Rallies, I mean, it was rallies for it seems like there's been rallies for 4 years straight. This is it. We're down to the wire. These are all that's left. If you've never been to a Donald Trump rally, you got to get your butt to Greensboro or Lititz or Kinston or Macon or Raleigh or Reading or Pittsburgh or Grand Rapids, Michigan, because that's it. After this, there will be no more Donald Trump rallies because he's going to win the presidency on Tuesday and then he'll be term limited out. Or, God forbid the worst happens, he's not going to run again. He's already told us that. He's going to pass the baton. So we've got just a handful, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 more rallies. And then the Donald Trump rally chapter of the United States of America's presidential political history will be in the books. That's really a while. That's something I never even really thought of it till right now. And luckily I made it to a bunch of rallies. I rallied I had my time in the rally spotlight. I went to a bunch here in Florida. Unfortunately, Donald Trump goes where he's needed. You know, he's like a superhero. Donald Trump's like, I'm needed in Michigan. I'm going to go there. They need me in North Carolina. I'm going to go there. Macon, Georgia is still anyone's ball game. I'm going to go to Macon, Georgia. And so he goes where he needs to go. He was in Albuquerque, New Mexico, because he felt like he could actually win Albuquerque, New Mexico. He's in Virginia because he feels like there's a chance he could win Virginia. He went to New Hampshire because he feels there's a chance he could win New Hampshire. And for all of these reasons, Donald Trump is still going and fighting. But for all of those reasons, we didn't get a rally in Florida at all. We didn't get a single one. We're just too red. He used to be in Florida. Man, in 2016, forget about it. Florida was where Donald Trump lived. He was in Florida. I think that's why he moved here. I think he spent so much time in Mar-a-Lago. I think he spent so much time in the great state of Florida. I think that he was just like, you know what? I'm going to move here. Forget it. Screw New York. They snatch squirrels and put them to death. I don't want to live in that place. And now, because we're so blood red, because Ron DeSantis and the Republicans have dominated here in Florida, and because we're pretty clear on which way this state's going to lean in this upcoming election, he hasn't done a single rally here. He's done a couple in Texas, I think. He went to California. But the last rally will be coming up in Michigan, and that is going to be quite the sight to see. All right, like I said, I don't know when this rally is going to start in Virginia, but he's planning. That's the goal. The goal is to flip Virginia. The goal is to get as many electoral votes as possible so that Donald Trump can win on election night. New Hampshire, Virginia. I believe Minnesota's doable. I believe all of these states are doable. He's also there to help the other down ballot candidates, the senators. He's there to help the Congress people. He's there to help whoever he needs to help, because he knows when he becomes president of the United States, he's going to need the tools. He's going to need people in place who are going to help him and not hurt him. And the House of Representatives, I've said this over and over again, I'll say it again. The House of Representatives is key. There's 20 up for grabs House races. And if they don't go red, if we lose the majority on the very first day of the new Congress, they will file articles of impeachment for Donald Trump. 100% they will. They have no choice. That's what they do. That's their MO. They'll vote to bring in Hakeem Jeffries because that's what they, the first, we all learned last time around, you can't do anything in the House of Representatives until you have a speaker. So they'll all go in there in lockstep and they will vote for Hakeem Jeffries. Hakeem Jeffries will become speaker. And then the very next thing on the docket, articles of impeachment against President Trump. And they'll do it for they'll probably do it for this Liz Cheney BS. They'll say, we need to impeach President Donald Trump because just weeks ago, he threatened to execute Liz Cheney live on stage with Tucker Carlson. That's going to be their play. And then it's going to wrap up the entire second term of Donald Trump's presidency. It's key. You need to give him not just the tools, but the freedom to do what he needs to do to make America great again. You've got to give him the tools and the freedom to work within the system quickly, so that we can get our country back to where it needs to be. And a Democrat House of Representatives is just awful. It's mucking up the works. It's saying, hey, great, Donald Trump, we want you to do what we want you to do. But, you're also going to have to battle another impeachment inquiry, a third one, for something just as ridiculous as the first two. So when you're going out and voting, and when you're dragging your low propensity friends out to vote on Tuesday, make sure you're voting down ballot for Republicans. Make sure you're voting down ballot for Republicans to win the House and Republicans to win the Senate, because we need this country back to, he's only got 4 years. He's already had 4. They came and they messed everything and he did up. So now he's got 4 years. He's really got to govern 8 years in 4 years. He's got to come in on the first day, drill, baby, drill, close the border, deport all of these illegal immigrants who are criminals in Aurora, Colorado, and Springfield, Ohio, and all over the other place. Then he's got to go back to everything else. He's got to de-wokeify the military. He's got to end the war in Ukraine. He's got to end the fighting in Israel and bring peace back to the Middle East. It's a lot to do. It's 8 solid years worth of work, and it's boiling down to just 4 years. But don't worry, because he's going to have the ideas, the agenda, and most importantly, the people in place in his administration to help him get it done. All right, listen, I can't wait for the rally anymore, so I'm going to go ahead and wrap up. Soon, they say, soon, Donald Trump speaking at second of 3 rallies. So Donald Trump will be speaking here, I guess, soon. I don't see any, but they haven't even started the stream yet. And typically they start the stream. I like to watch on the Donald Trump stream, because what happens is the Donald Trump stream, they cut out all the music, so I don't have to worry about the copyright. I don't have to worry about the copyright issues. Oh, one more thing I did want to mention to you, though. There have been a lot of people who've been asking about where I get my news and how I get my information. And earlier today on Instagram and earlier today on Facebook, I posted a post, but I want to let you know about it. We have something that we've opened up. We have a free version of our American Conservative Empowerment Society. And the American Conservative Empowerment Society, we just simply call ACES. We just call it ACES for short, because it sounds really cool. And it's a lot shorter to say than American Conservative Empowerment Society. But what I did was I put together a list. I put together a list of all my most favorite and trusted news sources everywhere. If I sit down to start putting together a show or doing a video, or if I just want to know, what's going on in the world, the first thing I do is I go to these news sources, and these are the news sources that I have, I have alerts on, so that I know when they post new information, yada, yada, yada. And so what I do is I go to these places first, and then what I do, hang on, I'm trying to type something here. And then what I do is I go to X and I follow a bunch of accounts, and there's people that I trust. And then I go look at the polls, but I only look at the good polls, the polls that I trust, not the polls that are just propaganda for the left. And people have been saying, hey, can I get a list of that? Can I see where you go? I want to know where you go. First thing I would tell you is subscribe to Mark Kaye Saves the Republic, because that's what we do here. Mark Kaye saves the Republic by sitting down in front of this camera and this microphone and talking to you about the truth, not fiction. Bringing you the truth, not the fabricated BS like Donald Trump is performing oral on a microphone. Not any of that stuff. What we do here is we bring you the facts, what's going on in our country. We let you know who is out there parading around like there's some kind of hero of the United States of America, when really they're one of the biggest villains we've ever seen, and they're a threat to our democratic republic and not an ally or a warrior for our democratic republic. Then we bring you the real poll numbers so you know exactly where we are and exactly who's lying to you, and we do that every single day. And in the meantime, we try to pepper in some entertainment, some enthusiasm. We try to keep you inspired because, look, I always say, you can have the greatest message in the world, but if you're not cracking some jokes or getting people's attention, no one's going to listen to you. You can have the most important information that is crucial to people's existence, but if you can't get their attention in the first place, they're not going to listen. So we pepper in the entertainment. And then, of course, there's the inspiration, too. You've got to be inspired to save this country. You've got to know that this is not just your moral duty, but it is the reason you're here. As an American, you get to reap the rewards of everything that the United States of America has to offer, but you better get off your butt and fight for it when the time comes. And guess what? The time is now. And so that's what I do. I try to keep you inspired so that you get up every day excited to say, woohoo, America, let's destroy her enemies. And we'll do it. And, then we'll go and we'll pop some bottles. So anyway, so we've started ACEs, and let me just show you here real quick. If you click on the link below, it's insideaces.com is the link. If you click on the link below, and I put it here in the description of the video, you can join the group. It's absolutely free. Look, we got 109 members. This morning we had 11. So it's blowing up pretty quickly. And it's the American Conservative Empowerment Society. I've already joined, so I'm just going to go ahead and no, don't anybody look at my password. I'm just going to go ahead and log in, and I'll show you kind of around. When you get here, you'll see there's a community tab, and there's all kinds of people here, and they're basically just talking about the election at the moment because that's what's really important. But there's the Dockery, who's showing you how to update your profile, to people talking about Trump and JD Vance. I've got big news about our election day party. And then look at this. This is cool. This is the free stuff tab. And if you want any free stuff, like for example, the list of trusted news sources, all my trusted news sources that I go to every single day, I've put on a list, and it's right here in the free stuff section, Patriots only. Live updates, we're going to start posting videos there that are not going to be for public consumption. They're going to be for Patriots only and members of the ACES community. So if you click on the link, it's in the description of this video on YouTube and Rumble, or if you go to insideaces.com, you can join us, Inside ACES, and you can get that list of trusted news sources, and you'll know exactly where I go. So God forbid you turn on the YouTube one day and I'm like, guys, I got the vid, can't do the show today, or something in my computer explodes, or the Wi-Fi goes down, or they finally found me and they've snatched me like Peanut the squirrel, and you'll never see me again. God forbid, you'll at least know where the other Patriots are. You'll at least know where the other great information sources are, so that you can go check it out for yourself. Once again, that's here in the free stuff section of our American Conservative Empowerment Society website, and you can get to there by Inside ACES. Now, we also have a gold level of ACES, which is ACES Gold, and that's, if you want to upgrade to ACES Gold, this is really great stuff. This is where we have a weekly Q&K. It's like a Q&A, but it's a Q&K, and I'll just show you. Look, here we have Friday Q&K, and there's Kent. Look, we go in and people ask me questions and I answer them. This was an hour long, and whatever questions you have about anything, it could be about podcasting, it could be about YouTube, it could be about the Republic, it could be about anything at all. In ACES Gold, every single week we meet together for an hour long live, and it is just it's just phenomenal. But the first thing you want to do is you want to go to insideaces.com, and look, now we're up to 111 members. Great, I love it. Go there and enjoy some free stuff and become part of the community, because we're really excited. All right, let's see if Donald Trump's there yet. Donald Trump is not there yet. And so it says 4 o'clock. It's now 5:30. So I imagine that he probably wrapped up in North Carolina, took some photos with the VIPs, got on the plane, and he's flying to, he's on his way to the rally in Virginia. And hopefully he'll get there shortly. And I imagine he'll take the stage almost. I mean, look, he's got another rally today in Greensboro, so it's going to be hopefully pretty quick. Now, we'll be back tomorrow. We'll have another live broadcast tomorrow, and then Monday, and then don't forget about our live watch party, 7 p.m. on election night. 7 p.m. right here, wherever you're watching, you will be able to watch us bring in the election returns. You'll be able to watch us. Come in and announce state by state who's winning the election, who's getting the electoral votes. You'll be able to listen state by state as we tally up who we believe is going to be the next president of the United States. We'll be bringing you the Senate races that are key and crucial. And of course, we'll keep an eye on the House of Representatives. Plus, we'll be partying live. You'll get to meet some Patriots. You'll get to talk to some Patriots, and you'll get to, hang out with your friends here at Mark Kaye Saves the Republic. Listen, we're so close. We cannot let our foot off the gas. I don't know if you're into racing, but if you're in, Donald Trump was at Rockingham today, so maybe you are. But if you're into racing, you know that at the final lap is when you pull out all the stops. You don't worry about your tires. You don't worry about your tank. You don't worry about rubbing or racing or drafting or any of that other crap. You get in the lane. You push, you smack people around. You do whatever you need to do to take that checkered flag. That's where we are. This is the final lap. We are putting our pedal to the metal. We are putting it in high gear. We are rubbing. We are racing. And we are going to get to that checkered flag. And we are going to win, win, win. And when we do, like I said, we're all going to toast because we will save the Republic. All right, listen. I want you to get that list. So go to InsideAces.com right now, and you can check it out. You can join our community.